Welcome to another New Spurs Order pod. Another New Spurs Order where I myself, X-Pac, will be a host and joined by two people who are beefing just before we went live about who should be picked to the starting lineup for Touchline 11s, but we'll get into it now. First up, Bruce Basir, aka Scott Hall. How are you?
I'm fine. Actually, life has been very good since I stopped watching football. I think I'll keep it this way. It's quite peaceful. It's actually very peaceful. I'm not gonna lie. Life is good. Life is really good. Life is really good. I'm actually in a good mood. I'm telling you, life is good.
Damn. Well, that's a good start. Tops, aka Booker T. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, bro. I'm good. Never completely happy when it comes to all things Spurs, but at this point, I'm just happy to be here, man.
Brilliant. And I forgot to even ask before we even went live and started this recording, but yeah, did you even watch our latest game against Man City?
I did actually. I didn't watch it live. I rewatched it, which obviously I had a different view of it because I didn't watch it live. So I already knew the results. So I kind of sat there comfortably watching it. But there's a few things I can talk about that game in particular.
Okay. Well, I'll set the tone and I'll understand we're losing you quite soon, so I'll come to you first, yeah. To set the tone a little bit, Man City's lineup again was a dysfunctional one. I think those who were watching it live thought, okay, this actually suits us because they didn't start Laporte, Diaz, De Bruyne, Gundogan. Went for a kind of makeshift. Well, not makeshift. I think we've actually played this lineup a fair bit this season, or the personnel at least, with a Kanje, Ake, as part of the set about pairing Rico Lewis and Carl Walker. Then they have Rodri, Bernardo Silva, was it Mahrez? I'm not going to miss out a player, but screw it. Mahrez, Grealish, Haaland and Alvarez. Obviously Ederson in goal. But yeah, they went for some kind of split striker system, I guess, to maybe try and reinvigorate Haaland. But just talk to me how, I guess, that first half played out.
I think the first half played into our hands, if I'm being honest with you. But I don't think that was more on how City came out. I think that it played into our hands because we knew what City were going to do. City play the same way, regardless of who the personnel are or the formation is. We know what they want to do as a team. And so in that first half, and what would happen for the rest of the game, really, I noticed that obviously we were pushing Dyer into the midfield when we was not in possession, therefore creating a weird kind of 4 at the back, 2 and a 1, where Dyer was like the lone DM when we were trying to recover the ball. And so when City would try and beat the press, instead of having to deal with, say, 1 midfielder or even 2, depending on who was press triggering, they had to actually deal with the 2 main centre midfielders and couldn't go past us because Dyer was in that pocket where they would have normally just popped the ball around and the player's free. And I think that worked a treat. I think they literally played, as you said, I think they literally played into our hands, hilariously. But City are our ground. I don't know what we have over them. But Jesus, these men haven't scored in 5 home games. That's a long time to not score at our opponent's ground. To not score, forget not winning, just to not score. They haven't scored in 5 attempts, so well.
And I thought I jinxed him mentioning it last week that they hadn't scored in 4 games at our stadium, and yet they didn't even score again, despite this best striker in the Premier League.
This is like the third 1-0 we've had over them at the stadium as well.
Yeah, they can hold that. And I'll move on to you as well, Tops. So I was just gonna get your thoughts on the first half because for all I had to watch the game back as well. I didn't get to watch it live, and I watched it back a few hours ago, and I feel like on top of what Yao said, I feel like City played into our hands. I don't think we were great,
Yeah, I
to be
can.
honest. But
Like it was. When I think about the game, I've not managed to watch it again, which has annoyed me a little bit because I've not seen it from like a TV perspective. But from being there, there were three things that I kind of, at the end of the first half, I kind of accepted. The first thing is that we were just happy to see possession. We gave them a lot of time on the ball to kind of, do what City do really. And by saying that, I mean they're very good at keeping possession, recycling possession, moving possession from side to side, and then if they can get it into wide areas, then usually with Grealish, Mahrez, they have players that can cause problems. I think the way we set up for the game is how we've kind of set up against them in the past. But the first thing that I really thought was quite good was that out of possession, everything that we did was working extremely hard to cover a lot of the spaces that City kept trying to feed the ball into through the midfield. I felt like when it got to the wings, the midfielders really did well at supporting the fullbacks, covering a lot of the passing lines into Haaland, and then basically allowing them to have very few quick combinations amongst Rodri, amongst Rico Lewis, amongst Mahrez, and amongst Grealish. And effectively, that kind of stopped them from getting a lot of the ball into Haaland, which we can talk about at another point. I did think another thing that I think was really important was, and I don't know, it depends how people look at this, but I thought Cuti Romero's role in almost stifling Haaland initially, I thought it was smart. Cuti being a very front-pressing sort of defender, he's very, very good at letting you know he's there. And that first challenge that Haaland received from Cuti, I think he ended up getting booked over it, was something to kind of let him know, listen, today you ain't getting the ball with your back to goal. And there's no way I'm going to give you any time, any space. We know how dogged, we know how aggressive Cuti is. And I actually think about 75% of the time his decision making is good. And obviously that 25% is what kind of led to him being sent off. But generally his defensive actions and actually the volume of them to kind of keep Haaland away from our goal was actually very important. And I think it was kind of key in the general game, obviously up until he got sent off. And the third thing that I think that we did really well, which I know it sounds so basic, but it's so important in terms of when you go into these big games against top 6 teams, is that in the box, we defended doggedly. We defended so well in the box, and actually we were able to pack the box, not only with our defenders, but with the midfielders that were needed to make it very difficult to allow them to get the ball into the wide areas, because we know City, they're not really a cross inside. So they're going to always try and move the ball into wide areas to then dribble themselves into areas to create attacking options in the box. And actually, every time it came into the box, they met Dyer. Every time they came into the box, they met Royale. Every time they came into the box, they met even Davies, who I thought was excellent. Who thought was excellent in parts of that first half. So I felt like 3 of those things, in my opinion, were really, really important. And actually, although when I looked at it and it was half time, I didn't think we played amazing. But then there was some stuff that I can talk about later in the second half, which kind of edged it for me. And to be honest with you, we are very lucky as well that we have we have players in Kane and Son who are literally high XG performers or over XG performers. So given the few chances that we generally create as a team over the last few years at Tottenham, these are guys that actually, when the opportunity arises, we want the ball falling to them. And even when you look at the chance, really good press from Højbjerg to nip it and actually to lay on the assist. Kane doesn't even hit the ball well, but it's enough and it's quick. A quick enough strike to be able to offset any standing that Ederson would have to set himself. And obviously, we went 1-1.
Touche. I definitely agree with you in the sense that we were really good in our press and shuttling across the close space, whether it be higher up the pitch or even just in like a deeper block. I think it was excellent, but I was trying to throughout rewatching it, I was trying to get myself in the frame of reference of watching it live, and I kind of thought that some of our transitions, our counter attacks, just kept on breaking down unnecessarily for me. It was just that final part of the move while we created the opening just to create a good chance on goal. It was just lacking for me. And that, and on top of the inconsistent referee, like for whatever reason, he was just refusing to book Man City players, despite like Grealish could have easily got one, Rico Lewis could have easily got one,
Alvarez could have got one. He made such odd decisions. In that first half. He just didn't want to give us anything. The first opportunity that he could, he gave Romero a yellow card. The first opportunity he could to Benten, he gave him a yellow card.
That was so soft as well, and that happened. I think
in that first half that he just didn't seem to. I wouldn't say he didn't control the game well, but he was allowing very, very yellow cardable offences to go just to be. He was just ignoring them, and then the first opportunities he could, the fans got on his back, and obviously he gave yellow cards to Benten. I don't know, man. Sometimes the refereeing in this league is so inconsistent. It's not even worth getting into.
That was around the time I think Rico Lewis just ended up laying on the ball because he knew he was about to lose it, and then we actually got the ball back. We went to counter, and then the referee just gave a drop ball. There was a few odd decisions, and I was thinking like we are absorbing too much pressure here, just for lack of just being able to create consistent chances. Because I thought we had enough openings to create more, but there was some weird decision making at times, especially from Perisic, who's passed was I think a bit off on the day. There was a chance where could have.
No, I think you're being kind.
Just could have recycled it out wide. There was that transition towards the end where Son just carried it and then took a shot when it was like a 3-on-4, and then Højbjerg ended up taking a shot afterwards. I think even though we outshot City, I didn't see us as enough of a threat to ideally be looking to keep a lead. But I'll see. We'll pass it over to see how he closed out the game. Obviously, after Kane got his record-breaking 267th goal for Spurs, which makes him a highest ever goal scorer. I'm sure you were passing about that. And yeah, just how the game played out for, I guess, the second half and onwards for you.
Well done to Kane to getting the record.
You were mentioned on the main pod quite a lot as well, by the way, this past week for talking about Kane.
Was I?
Yeah, I think Mr. Meads.
Yeah, Meads mentioned it quite a bit. Yeah,
I think he was in agreement with it, or I don't know if he just found it amusing, or he was in agreement with it, or both. But yeah, it was mentioned.
What, that I get onto Kane?
Yeah,
I think he didn't disagree.
Some of your takes in the past on Kane. Yeah,
I don't think. See, the thing is, I'll round this because I do think he's done well to get 267 goals. That's not no feat that we can insult. But my take on Kane is it's never going to be about the fact that we know he's a great goal scorer. We actually know that. Nobody can take that away from him. The record speaks for itself. We know he's a great goal scorer. That's not what makes me mad about him. What makes me mad is moments. It's literally that like these are the difference makers in your career. Literally, it's for all your 267 goals. The most iconic goal that anyone's gonna point out is the one against Arsenal from the corner. He's had some quality goals in that 200, but that's the most iconic one because it was in a derby. And you don't have one in a final, you don't have one in a semi-final. You don't. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's like, all right, cool, well done. You got the record now. Now focus on trying to get a trophy. You know, just end up keeping people quiet. In terms of the game, though, those last few chances that we created, the Son one, I'm going to mention the two main ones. The Son one, I'll tell you what, at first I wasn't even upset when he took the shot and, you know, Edison parried it and then Kane lapped onto it and Højbjerg went for this makeshift volley from Denmark. Don't know why he did that, but okay. But on second review, I was like, Son deserves to get punched up. He deserves to get beaten up. You've done nothing remotely of any sort of respect this season to have the audacity to be shooting from that far. You better lay that off and run into the box and hope that that ball returns to you. Yeah, how dare he have the audacity to be shooting like he's been shooting in previous seasons? What a liar. Yeah, he probably cried after he saw Edison save it anyway. Now that's what annoys me even more. But the chance that actually annoyed me the most, the break that pissed me right off. Ball goes into Højbjerg. And it would be Højbjerg to freaking get the ball trapped underneath his feet. He's such a crap player. He is awful. Yeah. Gets the ball trapped underneath his feet. Finally readjusts himself. Obviously, we know he's got no pace, so he's not going to outrun nobody. Freaking realizes, he's getting caught up. Perisic is to the left of you with the whole of Seven Sisters Road free. Even if Perisic is offside, that is the option. Take it. No, not Højbjerg. He decides to pass it blindly, by the way. I don't want nobody to tell me he saw Emerson running. Yeah, he didn't. He passes the ball blindly to his right, and he doesn't even give it enough juice for Emerson to actually beat the defender to the ball. For the love of God, remove this guy from my team. I've had enough of Højbjerg.
I thought he had an okay game.
I thought he can have a million okay games. Delete him. He doesn't need to be in our squad no more. Guy's rubbish. Awful. Crap player.
Fair. It kind of sounded like you were pining for him to play against AC Milan in the group chat, but
no.
Interestingly, I thought he was one of our. I thought he was one of our best players on the day.
Yeah.
The reason I say so is because I felt like, for once, his defensive responsibilities actually seemed to work. He was pressing in the right areas and winning, and being successful in some of his recoveries. And also as well, he was helping massively in a lot of different transitions. He got the assist for the goal as well.
I thought his game management at the end was particularly good.
Yeah, I think he's such a, I don't know, I won't say he's a polarizing character for Spurs, because I feel like he isn't. I feel like he had a role under Jose, and maybe that role has ceded now because we require more from someone in a double pivot. But yeah, I can give him the game on Sunday against City. Yeah, I thought he'd done all right. I thought the second half.
That's nice.
The second half was a funny one because whilst we continue to be very, very good defensively, City, who they didn't seem to create very much, but it was odd. The role that they give Rico Lewis as this inside midfielder fullback was odd, in my opinion, because there were lots of moments that it allowed Kulusevski to really have an open sort of run at that right side, which, weirdly, disappointingly, he didn't really take advantage of. But then also, because of that, it does two things. It forces Grealish to either do some defending, or it forces Nathan Ake across. So it stretches them. And that's one thing that we did get some joy, is that we constantly stretch them in transition. Like I was absolutely baffled at the amount of transitions we were able to take on City, especially from moments where we had won the ball centrally a lot of the time, or we had maybe taken it from Grealish on that right side from Emerson. But the rate at which we were able to break on these guys, it was kind of baffling to me. And I thought like one of them we would probably be able to score from, but annoyingly, like we didn't. But I felt like towards the end we kind of controlled it in a way that I was happy with. I felt like even towards the end, our pressing didn't really cede. I felt like we kind of kept up the intensity. I did kind of think maybe he was going to bring on Richarlison, because Son, who I haven't been a big fan of, I felt like he looked more like himself in the game, whereby he was getting the ball in good areas, running off the final man, in wide areas, dribbling. But then I kind of felt that Richarlison, this would be a good game to really just run at them, because we were getting so much joy with the transitions. But, Romero getting sent off probably changed a lot of things. We ended up, bringing on Sanchez, ended up bringing on Cess, ended up bringing on Bissouma. It was a funny one, like, to hold out and, to continue this weird hoodoo against City is positive. But again, I'm so confused as to where this team is going and what they're doing. Is this a flash in the pan because it's City? Is this what we will kind of look like moving forward? Is it just a one-off? Because largely at home as well, we've not been great, especially the last 6-7 games. We've not been great. So
yeah, that's fair. It's just to kind of say why I thought Højbjerg did okay and why he was good with this game manager at the end. Like there was a time just after Romero got sent off. Let's see, he got sent off for a nice little challenge on Grealish, which you could say was instigated by Højbjerg's missed interception. But
it was.
Not to digress.
It was. Just be sure that you're
not long
making
after
sure that it's
Romero
not-
got sent off, we I think they had a free kick and then Højbjerg took it to the face and then he made sure to go down. Nice little face injury or head injury. Milked it for all it was worth, and then he won a really good free kick, like the 92nd, 93rd minute. It was really cheap as well. Like he literally just stuck his leg between Man City players, one, and just went down, got the free kick, and helped close the game out, which is what Emerson Royale was doing as well. But, man, like I say about Højbjerg, like that Emerson Royale probably had man of the match.
yeah.
It's mental.
Yeah.
It's mental. Porro breathing down his neck, and then he pulls out an all-timer performance against mainly Grealish. Like the amount of times they were just fouling each other was ridiculous.
It's a funny one. Like sometimes it's so odd to me, like what it does for footballers. Like this whole time, Spence wasn't playing. Doherty's kind of been up and down in terms of his form, and it's very strange how like suddenly the signing of a £48 million starter can somehow force you, or not force you, but almost just put a rocket up your backside and force you to kind of perform. Like I sometimes I just don't know when it comes to Emerson. When I watch him, I feel like this type of game defensively is what he actually prefers. And it's upsetting because we need him to perform as a fullback. Or sorry, a wing back. So as a wing back, I need him to kind of be offering something on both sides. But in these type of games where it's kind of backs against the wall, we're happy to give up possession. He seems to perform well in these games. He does actually perform well in these games. And like, being there, watching him, he didn't give anything didn't give anything apart from that foul towards the end, which I think he may or may not have been booked for. He really didn't give anything to Grealish, and Grealish, you know, he got packed in. He got packed in a bit, yeah, you know, like by Emerson. So it's a strange one. He, you know, recoveries, challenges, clearances, interceptions, all of his numbers, they were all up. It was an interestingly, surprisingly good performance, to be honest.
Was he your man of the match as well, yeah?
Yeah, he was. He was the man of the match. Højbjerg wasn't good.
Fair enough. That's all you really needed to say, really. Really. Okay, yeah. Moving on then. Nice little 1-0 win. Caesar, so see within striking distance of fourth again with, I guess, what you could call a favourable run of fixtures in the Premier League coming up. As long as we can kind of get through March unscathed. Did anyone see Levy's little piece with BT Sport?
No, what did he say?
No, I've got it recorded, but I've not seen it. It's about half an hour long, is it?
Yeah, I mean they kind of just started with the beginning and when he took over and kind of what the vision was, and then just kind of topped it off with a lot of the quotables you would have seen probably on the timeline on Spurs Twitter.
Okay.
So he's saying about how he wants the team to now win trophies. Now they're in a position to sustain success. This is to paraphrase, obviously. That he will buy the best players that he can afford for the manager. Yeah, little things like this, and just speaking of his pride for the whole Northumberland project, not just the stadium as a whole, and just kind of echoing his intention to support the community as a whole, not just the club and the stadium. I guess it's come at a good time for him, a little bit of positive PR after the whole January transfer window debacle and the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust having their questions about the club direction answered in a somewhat kind of condescending tone. Yeah, we'll see, but he put a fair bit of positive prop up for himself. Not saying I believe it, but he does come across. I think he intends to come across passionate about Spurs and has their best intentions at heart. I'm still looking for actions to speak louder than the words, to be fair. But it was just interesting just to see his face.
If he takes a slap from 20 of our fans, then I'll believe that he cares about Spurs.
I'm not sure he can take 20 slaps, to be fair. He's shorter than me.
All right, then make it 120.
I just find it, I don't know, I'm not really sure what to make of it. Like the timing of it all as well, because
the timing is deliberate.
You know, like, I in many respects, like, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here. In many respects, he probably feels like he's doing his job and he's doing what he thinks is in the club's best interest from a business perspective. And actually, especially with the backlash from the Tottenham Hotspurs Supporters Trust and the response that they got back from the club, it probably is, you know, in a moment where he has to make it feel as if he is still the face of the club and he is accountable, and he maybe wants to try and explain a lot of it, because maybe people might have taken that response from THST in a negative way, and especially after being, you know, dragged into the Porro deal, and then after the win against Man City, it all just feels too good to be true. I can't truly trust this man, because, you know, after 20 however many years at the top of the club, it doesn't ring true enough for me. There's been more cases of him not doing what he's saying he's currently, or let's say if we take out the last 4 or 5 years, there's more evidence of him not having done what he said in that period of time than there is for the whole time he's been at Spurs. So for him to come out and say that, yeah, if you're talking about now, sure, I can give you that. But I can't say the same for the remainder of the 15, 16 years where there's been clear need for investment in the team, and there just hasn't.
I think one of the things that annoys me the most about Levy is this has come out not too long after the fans were singing "Get out of our club." Like, what do you think all of this? Like, listen, there are Spurs fans out there that think he's the second coming of Christ. Yeah, they think, oh, because he gave us a shiny new stadium and he invested so much money in the club and he got us Romero, he's amazing. Daniel Levy is a virus. Yeah, he is the viruses you used to get on your PC computer. Then you'd go down to the shop, buy Norton or McAfee. It'll clean up the virus for one day, and that bloody bastard will be right back the following week. He needs to go. I'm making a stand right now to a few of my brothers from the Middle East. Listen, my Qatari brothers, inshallah. Brothers, please. Bish me Allah, bro. Please. Yeah, come to North London. Come to Spurs, inshallah. Please, brother. Yeah, come save us. Please. Yeah. To God be the glory, please. Yeah, I want to see. I don't even mind if I see Kane in the little robe that they put around Messi. Let that happen. Let it happen. I've had enough of Levy. I've had enough. Get him out of my club. Get him out. The guy's a liar. You think because he went and got Porro over I ain't got no time for it. Get him out of my club yesterday. I don't want him there no more, bro. Him, Højbjerg, Dyer, and Dyer's brother. Get them all out, bro. None of them can do anything for this club. None of them.
So, how I've kind of seen it and judged it is not just this interview alone, but I guess just how he's wanting to run the club. I think since the new stadium's opened, he has wanted to try and help Spurs win, but just gone about it in the worst way. The hiring of, I see Mourinho after Poch, which I thought at the time would have been great, and our scouting wasn't good. We didn't have anyone kind of looking after the football operations side, which I think any even kind of Levy supporter could admit, like you can't be dealing with football operations, not heavily anyway. There's been changes to that recently, like since the stadium's opened, we obviously got rid of Mourinho after spending a relatively large amount of money for Spurs anyway. Now we've hired Conte on these wages that he's on. We've got a sporting director who may or may not be here for that much longer because he's going to be in football jail, maybe. But we've seen an overhaul of the scouting backroom team as well as the playing staff. There's been a high amount of outfield players bought. Hopefully, we keep this sporting director, and we hopefully keep a manager in Conte for a bit longer, even just a bit past this season, who's practically and figuratively had his foot on Levy's neck the whole time he's been in charge, with the intention just to win and make this club as successful as possible. So I feel like we're on the right track now. But again, I still understand fans' frustrations and supporters' frustrations at the sheer flip-flapping of the club strategy, especially ever since the stadium has opened. But we'll just see if that carries on. Like there was sponsorship announced from South Africa Tourism, which was for something like 45 million. I think that's been pulled now though, because because of the country not being too happy about it, they've decided to pull out. So I think that deal was sort of like worth over twice as much as our current one in Sinj. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that and see what happens with the next few months in the summer and even further along. Be especially interesting if Conte does end up leaving, but it's too hard to see what will happen at this point.
I don't even
Without
want
waffling too much, I just hope if Paratici does get banned, that we do get another body in his place to run the football operations side of it, because I think that's crucial to us moving forward.
who do we
I
get?
can't. I think there's someone who they've actually already got in their scouting team, whether it be a Greta Steinson, or I think the guy's name who's the head of methodology is Simon Davis, but not the ex-Spurs Simon Davis. There's a guy they brought in from Rangers whose name I've forgotten, or maybe even someone like Luis Campos, another big name, but even the I was going to say Paul Mitchell, that would have been a laugh, but someone who's adequate at their job and in football operations. Michael Edwards might be looking for a job ex-Liverpool, so yeah, someone who's adequate. Was you about to add to that, or was you just questioning
No.
who we can get?
That's a good list. I'd like Paul Mitchell to come back, but we burned that bridge.
I think
He
so.
hates us.
I think so. Yeah. For further context, for those who might be listening and don't understand why the bridge with Paul Mitchell got burnt, is essentially he wanted to sign Sadio Mane. Levy said no for a difference of I think it was just a few, like 10, 20 grand in wages and a couple £1 million. Said no to Mane and got Sissoko instead. So yeah, it's pretty understandable.
Jesus Christ, I've had enough. Yeah, these Qatari brothers,
I didn't actually want to bring it up, but
they better listen to this pod immediately.
If this investment
gone.
If this investment is to come in, yeah, we need it to happen ideally this summer, because FFP rules are getting a bit stricter, which is why I guess Chelsea are doing all the splashing at now, because I think it's like 90% of your revenue you can spend. So honestly, 90% relative to your revenue, and that goes gradually down. So from 24-25 season, you can spend 70%.
Yeah.
Relative to your revenue, which is I think what I think there was a bit in the statement to the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust. Yeah, something to suggest that's when we're going to really look to kick on and peak.
What?
So to speak,
next season,
24-25, as in like when other teams can't really spend as much relative to their revenue, well, as much as us essentially, other than I guess City, who kind of inflate their own revenue.
when half of the good players are already gone. Yeah, sure. Spurs are going to splash out on James Ward-Prowse. Jesus, I've had enough.
He'll be in his 30s by then. Relax.
Bruv,
Well, he'll be close to it.
He will come to this club and we will spend 25 million.
No,
and we won't even put him.
I still think our revenue will go up. I'm in no way worried about that. The football revenue will go up. The outside football stuff will obviously go up. Like I'm not worried about that. So
if
it puts us in a better position, then we're just gonna have to wait, then, won't we?
We were trying to work out our match day revenue last week, and it must have been about 800 grand. I think it's got to be a couple million.
The match day revenue is on Premier League games. It's like 750 to 800, and on the Champions League games, it's like 800 to $1 million.
Imagine.
I think it's got to be more than that though. Surely you got like 62,000 people. Say on average, everyone gets at least two drinks, and that's like up to 240k alone, and this isn't including like the price of the tickets and the food and whatever else.
I think last season though, we made in total, I think 24 or 25 million from match day.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, fair enough.
So if you're going off the average of about 800,000, 19 home games, and think of all the the little mini, European games, it's probably about right. I'd say it's probably about right, yeah. And I think as well, the good thing is that I think with the Champions League and everything else, it will probably be more this year, I'd say. Especially as we go further in that tournament too.
Hopefully we go all the way.
Yeah, I think I remember reading. I definitely know last year, from what I remember from like the Swiss Gamble stuff, it was about 24 or 25 million we got from match day revenue. And yeah, it is somewhere between 750 and $1 million, dependent on what the game is, XYZ.
Wow.
Which is actually incredible if you think about it. I mean, it's.
Listen, we're just paying for their apartments. We're just a cash cow for these man. They might as well be the Glazers, because who are they investing in? What, 15 million for Doherty, 15 million for Højbjerg, Scrimp FC, bro. Button this club, bro. Get rid of that board. I want to see armpits. I want to see silverware. If it means calling in the man then from the... Listen, there's a Qatarian that's about to purchase United. We're finished. This guy's gonna... You think Todd Bowley's spending 600 M's or something? This Qatarian's gonna spend $1 billion. Cash, clean, oil cash. We're finished.
I was looking at some of the numbers. I think I read something like the actual family is worth something like 30-something billion, and the 8 billion is like a drop in the ocean to them.
A drop. Listen, you man, I'm telling you straight up here. Obviously, I hope God blesses us all with riches and everything. But you most certainly do not want me to reach billions, because if I reach that amount of money, I'm purchasing Spurs. And every single footballing fan that is not a Spurs fan will hate me. You think Todd Bowley's bad? You don't even know what I'll be up to. What's that? Huh? You might go enough to Sterling. Yeah? How much you bid for Sterling? 36, yeah? All right, cool. Make a quick phone call. I'll give you 40 million.
I find it hilarious that the first player you thought to try to sign is Sterling.
I gotta help my brothers, innit?
Of all the guys beside,
he's suffering over there. I gotta help him. He's suffering over there. He is suffering, bro. He is suffering big time over there. Man came back to London, and it's hell. It's hell for him in Chelsea. Hates it. Suffering racial abuse every week. What for? Come to Spurs. Free transfer. When is his contract up? Oh no, he probably signed a death row contract. He's done. Half of them youths have signed a death row contract anyway. They're there for like 7.5, 8 years. That's how they've got around it.
Yeah, the game is the game.
You know who we've been like all the, obviously it's rumor mill now, isn't it? But they're saying that this summer we want to go after 3 centre backs. I put it in the group. You saw the names, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Lads, be prepared.
Gavardio, Bastoni, Mark Guehi.
Lads, be prepared. We are about to sign Anderson. That is it. Yeah. We're not signing none of them, man. Yeah, we're signing none of those guys. We're going to sign
I personally, I'm not going to read too much into it. I'll look into the players, and they're all, their situations at their clubs, but the actual speculation of it all, no.
We ain't signing none of them. Anderson is our next purchase. Remember I said. And Toby's going to call him my whatever country he's from.
So that'll be after Ben Foster, yeah?
Oh, Jesus. Jesus Christ.
If I see that brother and his vlogs, I might lose it.
Daniel Levy is such a ledge. I can't wait. I
might lose it, man. You know what? I've been to Watford enough times over the last 2 years to tell you that guy is not good in goal. Like, he is just not good in goal.
Why are we linked to him? Why?
Goalkeeper cover.
Nah, man. I'd rather we call Gazaniga back.
No, haven't we got Brandon Austin still? He's still in the club ranks, isn't he?
Is that you know what? I'm not gonna say something, and I don't mean it in the nicest way possible, but it probably is gonna come out. Is he a real person?
Yeah, he's our third goalkeeper in the squad. Brandon Austin, 100%.
What country is he from?
English.
You know what? Honestly, I thought you were gonna say America.
Got help a brother out.
I'm with Owen on that, bro. Sack him. Listen, I ain't got time for it, yeah? Tell Lloris to inject himself with, I don't know, some French equivalent of steroids and get back onto the pitch, bro. But he freaking got hamstring injuries or whatever, bro. It's because he's been drinking too much wine. And you bust up your knee after a victory. What's wrong with this guy? And I think I know where he got the knee injury. When he jumped on Kane, celebrate. I'm going to nurse it.
I thought you were going to say that challenge of Rodri right at the end.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't.
What is wrong with this club?
This is what I was going to get into because we just can't have nice things. Like there was a press conference earlier today from Stellini. It was like, oh, we've got no injuries other than Lloris. And then it comes out that Bissouma's having surgery on a stress fracture in his ankle. So we've got some unavailable players for Leicester. Just I guess Romero's suspended as well as Bissouma being injured, and then we've got Højbjerg suspended for AC Milan. But we'll cover, I guess, the Leicester game first. What's initial prediction given the personnel available?
Oh, we're gonna lose. I haven't said that we're gonna win a game since coming up to 2 months now, and I'm sticking with it. We're gonna lose 3-1.
Who would you start out of Sanchez and Tanganga?
Jesus.
You would start Jesus, okay. Tops, who would you? What would your prediction be?
Wait, is that really the only choice?
I mean, okay, like it's a funny one because
I guess so.
Romero being out.
Romero's out.
I mean, in my head, I was thinking just because of his doggedness against Man City, I just don't see how Emerson doesn't start. But then if he doesn't start, like, is this the kind of game that we would want Porro to start? Like in my head, I was like, if he trusts Emerson enough, why not just play Emerson at right centre back? But then in my head, I was like, that doesn't even sound right. Like, I don't even like this guy at right back, let alone right wing back. And I'm thinking to trust him as a player on the ball in any sort of automation, any sort of build up. I don't think it would work. In an ideal world, I need someone who can play that role well enough to allow Emerson to start the game and maybe Porro come on. So if I look at it from that perspective, then it has to be Sanchez.
So then Royal
Sanchez
and
and
Sanchez
Emerson
start
on the
together.
same side.
Yeah, those two, when they start together, it's utter chaos. And do you know what's funny as well is that all of a sudden Leicester, they've built up a little bit of form outside of I think a loss to Forest. They're really picking up points. FA Cup wins, decent result against Leicester, against Brighton a couple of weeks back, and then
Aston Villa. Aston Villa was so poor.
In which
anyway.
they've got their main talisman back, which is never good for us in James Maddison. So I have no. If I'm honest with you, even based off how we performed there last season, I have no idea how we will play, because I generally don't know from week to week how we perform as a team. But Leicester is a game that Kane seems. I think he scored the most amount of goals of any team, so I imagine he bags, and he always seems to do so away from home too. It shouldn't be a difficult one, and it's an odd 3 o'clock game that we don't play very often. But when I look across their team as well, even outside of Madison and Barnes, I'm not particularly moved. I'm not particularly moved. So it's the kind of game that I'll have a full sense of security, and then we'll just lose. So I'm just going to go into it with a mentality that I've had with most games this season. I'm just going to see how we get on. I have no predictions.
Fair. Who starts in Højbjerg's place and Basuma's place against AC Milan? Given that the first leg is at the San Siro as well.
And anyone really.
I think we go with Skip this weekend.
I think so too.
I think we go with Skip just because on
the weekend though. I think Højbjerg will play on the weekend.
When I think of the profiles.
Oh no, Højbjerg's still playing on the weekend.
When I think, Højbjerg's still available on the weekend.
Pissed.
Yeah, so he's suspended in the Champions League.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Then if that's the case, yeah, I imagine it will be Højbjerg and Benten on the weekend, and I think it will be Sarr and Benten against AC Milan on Tuesday. Just and the reason I say so is just when I think about our current profiles, I've watched the last 2 games into AC have played, and normally in midfield they've been going with Tonali and Krunic.
Benacer is back for Spurs apparently.
Oh, is he? Is he? Okay,
yeah.
So that's a key returner. I don't think we're going to be too what's the word? Risk averse. I don't feel that. I actually feel this is a game for the taking. AC Milan, I feel like even though they've been in a bad run, they're going to want to try and get themselves out of a bad run, and I want us to go there and just compound the pain. Just make it even more difficult for them. So they're going to probably want to, give a good account of themselves. But I feel like we have enough across the pitch to really cause them problems. I was watching the last few games they've played. Sassuolo at home, Inter at home. They don't look great at the moment. But Champions League is a completely different kettle of fish.
Yeah, it's a sketchy one because even when they had a lot of these players available, especially Mike Maignan, who's not available for Spurs, but when he was available against Chelsea, I watched both those legs, and this is part of Chelsea. They made Milan look super mid, super mid.
It's a
Tomorrow,
strange one
obviously,
because
getting sent off in the first half in the San Siro game, but still,
they have lots of it's odd as well because when you look at their team, they've got lots of talent all across the team. I mean, they're the current Serie A champions. We're talking about Charles de Ketelaere. We're talking about Brahim Diaz, Tonali, Benacer, Rafael Leao. Andre Rebic, Yassin Adli. These are not scrubs, but they seem to have not been able to get themselves out of a rut. One thing I do think will play to our advantage is that recently they've just been starting with Giroud and Origi, and these are kind of players that we kind of we can probably get tape on. We could probably have experience playing against them, and I feel like maybe that kind of will work to our advantage a little bit. They're not monsters up front, but they're players that I definitely feel that we can definitely manage. Rafael Leao is an odd one as well. I've kind of kept an eye on him since the World Cup, and it's strange. He doesn't seem to start games, and then when he does come on, it tends to be just however he's feeling. If he's in the mood, you're going to get a killer performance from him, and if he's not, a few take-ons, a few sprints, and that's it.
Damn, yeah, it's going to be a tense one. Obviously, we have a little bit of heritage at the San Siro as well.
Course, bro.
Not just the whole Bale free kick thing, but when we played AC Milan and Gattuso tried to fight a 70-year-old
Yeah.
in Joe Jordan after we won. I think that was a better AC Milan as well. Like this is like prime Zlatan at that point, who couldn't even get the edge off big Michael Dawson. So yeah, we'll see. Strange times, but triumphant times as well. Tops, thank you for joining me tonight. Say thank you to Yao as well. He's obviously just had to leave us because he's busy doing something. But yeah, that wraps up another new Spurs Order pod. Please be sure to check out our recordings. We do tend to stream live on a Thursday evening, or could check out the audio on a Saturday morning. But as for now, peace out and come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Bosh.